Welcome back. Now we're going to talk about some of the things that you need to take into consideration before you begin any kind of microdosing protocol. The most important thing to consider before you try any protocol is the fact that psilocybin mushrooms are illegal in most places. At the time I'm filming this video, they are illegal. So I don't know when you're watching it. Hopefully by the time you're watching it, it's not illegal anymore. But yeah, that is the biggest thing to take into consideration. Some of the other considerations to take into account, and this one has to do with the Stamets stack because it has to do with niacin. Now again, I want to read a little bit of this to you because I don't want to leave anything out. It's very important information to take into consideration. So niacin can make allergies worse because it might increase histamine. It can also interact with alcohol and other medications. So like I said, you need to talk to a healthcare provider before deciding to start any microdosing protocol. I'm going to continue reading because I don't want to leave anything out. So niacin is not recommended for individuals with liver disease, kidney disease, diabetes, gout, stomach ulcers, very low blood pressure. So that's why I say it's very important to talk to your healthcare provider before deciding to microdose. And this isn't psilocybin I'm talking about. This is the niacin that's involved with the Stamets stack. Now, like I mentioned, another thing to consider is that the niacin does cause that flushing feeling where you feel warm and tingly, and it can make it look like you kind of have a rash, like a little bit on your neck, on your arms. That's where I get it. It's very short-lived and it's not uncomfortable at all, but it is something to take into consideration. So I'm going to read a little bit more, and the reason I want to read this is because I don't want to leave anything out. So I want to tell you what Paul Stamets says about the purpose of using the niacin that flushes. So the purpose of the flushing type of niacin is to deliver the psilocybin and the lion's mane deep into the neural extremities where neurogenesis occurs. The flushing effect is simply the niacin doing what it's supposed to do. So yeah, it's not dangerous at all unless you have those conditions that I just read to you. Then you need to talk to your healthcare provider first. Other than that, the flushing isn't a big deal, I promise. So the use of psychedelics isn't recommended if you suffer from psychosis, schizophrenia, or severe anxiety. And again, I want to read this to you because I want it to be as accurate as possible. The reason it's not recommended for those conditions is because overdoing a microdose could lead to manic states, potentially making the underlying condition worse. So again, if these conditions apply to you, please talk to a healthcare provider before you decide to take a microdose. Now, there's a few other things to consider and a few side effects that have been reported. And again, I'm probably going to read a lot of this to you because I want it to be as accurate as possible. Some people have reported headaches, and that is whether you're taking a regular dose or a microdose. And the severity of those headaches varies from person to person. So that's something to keep in mind. Some people have reported feeling more anxious after taking a microdose. So if that's the case for you, you probably want to discontinue using it immediately. Here's what I'm going to read. Some people have reported that they have a hard time staying awake after they microdose. So if this is the case, they advise you to take the microdose at night so that you're typically advised to take it in the day because it is meant to enhance your day-to-day life. But if it makes you sleepy, they advise you to take it at night. Especially if you do have a hard time sleeping, this might be an extra bonus for you. So there's a couple of more conditions that I'm going to read to you right now that they don't recommend psychedelics for. And okay, so generalized anxiety disorder, that's kind of with the severe anxiety that I mentioned earlier. They don't recommend it if you have red-green color blindness, psychosis, bipolar 1, and anybody who's taking lithium. It's not recommended to take psychedelics if you are taking lithium. So another thing to consider is which protocol do you want to try? It's recommended to start with the Fadiman protocol if you're a beginner. And the reason for that is because you're only taking that one little dose and then you're taking that 2-day break. It's also good if you're apprehensive or have any kind of fear around it. That way you're just taking that one dose and you know you have the next 2 days, and then you can see how you feel. If you think you'd rather start with the Stamets stack protocol, it's recommended to start with only using the psilocybin and leaving out the lion's mane and the niacin. I'm going to read to you why he recommends this. He says that by doing this, it helps to set a baseline for when you add the lion's mane and the niacin. This way, you will be able to see if adding those two other things improves any of the benefits. So, and also you're not gonna, it's good to start with just the psilocybin so you know how the psilocybin affects you before adding anything else to it. And it will also help you find the right dose of psilocybin for you. And once you have found the right dose of psilocybin, then it's okay to go ahead and add the lion's mane and the niacin to the stack. All right, now that we've gone over some of the things that you need to consider before making that decision to microdose, we're going to move on to the next video. And in that video, we are going to talk about how to prepare yourself for the microdosing experience. I can't wait to see you in the next video.